Well, it was actually quite glamorous because I would, I don't know if I should really be saying this, but in person,
a little insider info. Hi, welcome to A Yarn Story. I'm Carmen, and I'm here for a very special episode, a bonus episode of the podcast with my mom.
Gisela.
We're in Redmond, Oregon at the moment, where it is beautiful and sunny, and we don't need an extra light to be filming. We just have lovely natural light here in the living room.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with what you're wearing, and then we'll get into maybe a little bit more about how you started in crafting and how you got me into crafting. And Mom also has like a ton of finished projects to show you all, because she finishes things more than I do. I do have one finished project though, which I'm not wearing because I'm too warm. But you live in a hot climate and you have some lovely summer knits. So tell us about what you're wearing, Mom.
All right. Well, I am wearing a cadre Layla top.
Yep.
In the pure silk. And it's knitting for Olive.
Yes.
Pure silk.
Which I do believe you got from us.
And yes, I do. I like to order a yarn from you, Carmen, you know. But I really, really enjoy knitting it. Now, one thing that I did differently, this pattern calls for just a single yarn strand, and I doubled it.
Yeah, so you made it a thicker weight.
I made it, yes.
That's what it calls for.
Yeah.
In the pure silk, so it's a much more substantial fabric.
Yeah.
It's really pretty though. And then the other you made one more modification, didn't you?
I did.
Straps?
Oh, the straps. Well, actually, it wasn't so much. Maybe I moved the strap out a little bit further than it called for. And I also was thinking of doing two straps.
Okay.
And I made it a tiny little wider, but then it is a, what do you call that edge, Carmen, where you roll?
I-cord?
An I-cord. And so it does roll anyway a little bit, but
it's really lovely and drapey though.
It is, yes. I was a little concerned that using a double strand, it wouldn't drape as much as the original pattern, but very happy with it. And I did talk my neighbor.
Mom's an influencer.
Into knitting more again. And she loves it. And she made the same top in just a different color. And she ordered it from Carmen. So anyway.
Well, it looks great. I think, I mean, you might notice that my mom is wearing a completely different color than what I would. I would never wear that orange, but it looks lovely on you. Is it the copper color? Do you remember? Copper, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I see. I don't. Is it orange? Yeah.
Well, it's a warm autumnal orangey brown kind of. It's a copper color, really. Yeah.
I'm more into Kaylee's colors, I think, right? Because the colors that she wears and picks sometimes, yes. You like the little brighter colors, maybe. But anyway,
autumnal isn't really my thing, but it is very much yours.
Yeah.
And you do bright.
I do bright in some things, like I just ordered, and I can't wait to knit the key lime pie.
Oh yes, Opus's key lime pie. Yeah. When I made that, I was like, Mom will definitely make a sweater in this.
Oh yes, yes. I do. I love that color. Fact is, I already wound up once.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did, so that I could knit a little sample.
Okay. So amazing.
Anyway, yeah.
So that's what Mom's wearing. So we usually do a wine segment. We're recording a little bit early in the day to drink wine. I will instead be drinking coffee. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you got into making things? Because you've been making things for a very long time.
Yes.
You're very creative.
I started as a child. My mother was very creative. She sewed and she knitted. And I still have a sweater. She knitted and I wear it. And
We should
she
have brought that out.
knitted, yeah, we should have, because she knitted this like, let's see, 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
She came to the States to visit when you were born.
Okay.
So, and
44 years ago, everybody.
Yeah. And she knitted your dad a sweater because, you know, he was a very tall man.
My dad was 6'9", if you've not heard me say that.
Yeah.
He's very large.
And very long arms. And so she knitted this beautiful sweater, and the sleeves were actually a little bit too long.
Was that the big chunky cream cardigan thing?
Yes.
I remember that sweater, yeah.
He was so proud of it because he never owned a sweater. So that's basically how I started. I mean, on Sundays, we would get a sewing project on a sewing machine, old treadle. Yeah. And we would make things like poodle skirts and
wow,
you know, those kind of things. So that's how old I am. But it really got me into, and I love to create things. I just love it. And so she taught me also to knit, and I was doing little things, you know, for my dolls and crocheting. I remember I did clothing for my dolls, for sure. So anyway, that's how I got into it. And then, of course, I didn't really knit big projects, but when I came to the United States in 67, basically it was December 67, so 68, yeah. And I was a little bit lost here, I have to say, because
so if you've missed the part where my mom grew up in Germany, when she emigrated in end of 67.
Yeah. And so I was thinking, what am I going to do with my time? You know, that was very difficult, that transition. And I found a fabric store. I was living in Arvada, Colorado. And I found this fabric store, Stretch and Sew. And they said they offered classes. And it was a new concept of sewing. It was, you know, jerseys, knitting, you know, stretchy fabrics. And the end person had invented this method of sewing with those fabrics. And I signed up for a class. And that really changed my life here. It really did. So I finished the class, and they saw the enthusiasm that I have for creating.
So do you remember the first thing that you made in that class?
Oh, yes.
What'd you make?
A t-shirt.
A t-shirt. Like a cotton stretch t-shirt.
Cotton stretch t-shirt.
It's so, sorry, I'll let you get back to your story in a second. But I find it so interesting that sewing with stretch fabrics was so new, not really all that long ago, because, I mean, later in this story, you and I sewed a lot of clothes when I was a kid. And it was all stretch fabrics. We made sweatshirts and t-shirts and leggings.
And swimsuits.
We'll get to that. But the time frame of when that was not a done thing to how popular that became was quite short.
Right. It really was. I mean, we're not that old. You're not that old. But
neither of us are that old, Mom.
You know, no. But anyway, so I finished the class. And then since I was so enthusiastic, the owner, the store owner, said to me if I wanted to work at the store and maybe go to this teacher training, which happened to be in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
So the company trained all their teachers at the headquarters.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to do that, and I thought, oh, my English was not great, but people liked it. They liked listening to me, I have to say. So I gave it a try, and I actually did. I went to teacher training, and I taught so many classes with the stretch and sew method.
So you weren't just like a shop assistant. You immediately jumped into teaching. I mean, I think you were clearly very good at the sewing. I think this one class was just, I don't think you learned everything in the one class.
No, because I knew how to sew. My mom taught me, and I did enough sewing beforehand.
Did you make a lot of clothes growing up?
Yeah, my poodle skirt.
Your poodle skirt.
Well, things really, because almost 5'11" tall. Yeah. I'm a little bit shorter now, but still I'm pretty tall. And so it was very difficult for me to find clothes. So I was a little bit forced to making some things. Yes. But so I had a good sewing background, but I didn't know there was definitely a method to sewing with knits.
Okay.
Anyway. So then I became a teacher, and the students, I think they liked to listen to me more than they liked my accent. So,
you were probably like quite unusual for where you were in Colorado at the time.
Yes.
I doubt there were a ton of other Germans or foreigners. I'm making a guess.
Yes, no.
Because it's outside Denver, right?
Yes, Nevada. I mean, a small kind of the foothills, And so later on, of course, through teaching classes, I did meet, three German women, and that's all. and so it was fun. Yeah, it was really fun. I love the creativity of it. I like to do that with my house. I like to, create things. So anyway, so that was kind of my stretch and sew background until they asked me then to manage the store. So that came pretty soon after.
And I love this. So the barely English speaking student is running the store. What, 2 years later?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing.
And the owner of the store, she stayed away pretty much. She said, "I just let you run it," and because she lived in Littleton, Colorado, which was a little bit further away, So anyway, I managed it. And she sold it back to the company, to Stretch and Sew, and it became a company store.
Okay.
A store where we tested a lot, And so anyway, I was a manager. My boss and person, she would visit. She saw how creative I was and how I just took fabrics and put things together. So pretty soon she asked me if I wanted to move to Eugene, Oregon, and be head of a new department, a newly created department actually. And we just created all the patterns in books. And so I became the manager of that.
Well, I think for people who aren't familiar with what stretch and sew was, or how big sewing was in the like late 60s and through the 70s and into the early 80s, maybe we should talk about that a little bit. Like stretch and sew was producing their own fabrics. Yeah. So they're manufacturing their own fabrics.
Yes.
They were designing, developing, and manufacturing patterns for that. They were producing books.
Books, yes.
And I also remember when you were telling me when I was a kid, like you used to do fashion shoots in New York.
Yes.
Like this all sounded very high fashion to me as a kid.
No.
And definitely was.
Yes.
And I don't think that's where we see sewing right now. So I think that's a really interesting part of the story. Sewing was fashion forward, everybody. It wasn't just...
So true. And we lost a little bit of that. I've kind of forgot that because Ann Person, who really honestly started this company from scratch with butcher paper patterns.
Yeah.
And she would load stuff in her car and travel through Oregon.
Okay.
And taught kind of like a Tupperware kind of a party at, in homes, and showed women how to sew with these knits and the method she created. So she was a huge inspiration to me. And I think she just noticed that I had a talent for it. And she promoted women.
Yeah, I mean, you've said that before. I mean,
yes.
I knew Anne growing up as well when I was little.
Yes, you did.
But now look at like knowing more about her as an adult and an entrepreneur now, like she's hugely inspirational in the way she ran her company and her personal history.
Yes.
And you always said that she was a huge promoter of women.
Yes.
It was a very women-led and driven company.
Very true. Very true.
And that was also probably very unusual for that time.
Totally. I mean, this was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, in that
before
me. Before you, kind of. When I started. But so it really honestly changed my life. And it was kind of a move that was very scary at first. And I think Carmen probably, it wasn't my own, let's say, my own business, like Carmen started her own business, but it still was scary in a way because it wasn't really a profession that I learned to do. I now was in charge of drafting patterns and creating books and for all the written materials and the graphics and so on. It was a huge responsibility, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And there was, risk involved, but it was the creative part that I love, and I love that about knitting.
So did you actually design patterns?
I did. I designed patterns. I would go to New York, and a lot of things I copied. I mean, there are very few original designs, really.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a whole podcast in and of itself.
Yes.
Yes. Talking about, how patterns are derivatives of other things, and
that is.
How many ways can you make a t-shirt or a sweater for that matter?
Exactly. But I got to travel to New York. I was there every 3 months, and because
were you there at like fashion shows? Is that why you were there? Or
no? Okay. So this is how it developed. Ann Person became very well known, throughout the country, and magazines were interested in featuring her. And so rather than just doing ads in magazines, we got a lot of PR.
Okay, amazing.
Yes. And
it's much cheaper than doing advertising.
Yeah. But I was fortunate enough that Anne sent me right away to meet like with Harper's Bazaar or big magazines, and they would give me a sketch, and then I had to create the garment with keeping the patterns of stretch and sew in mind, because they had to be duplicated then by our viewers, right. And readers.
Yeah.
And that was a very creative. So we had a beautiful apartment in New York, and the fashion editor from Bazaar or from Vogue, they would come to the apartment, give me the sketch, and then we had to also get the fabric that they were thinking of featuring in their beautiful magazines. And that was always very stressful, getting that coordinated.
I can only imagine.
You know, and then I had to make these things.
Like, it is wild to me and feels so far from the current reality of the crafting industry to think that a fabric company had an apartment in New York that it had for its employees and for the trips that you guys regularly made out there to meet with like the biggest magazine and fashion editors to be creating things for their magazine pages. Like, that feels very, very far removed from where we currently are in the industry. Yeah. Please keep telling us about this. This sounds
really
glamorous and exciting.
Well, it was actually quite glamorous because I would, I don't know if I should really be saying this, but in person,
a little insider info. Well, we can.
No, I mean, it was a person really treated her employees very well. And safety, I think, for women and us. I mean, we were young. I was young at the time. And it was a big factor being in New York City so much. And of course, she had a lot of other people who did, fabric shopping and all this. So she always wanted to make sure. So we had a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce.
Team, don't you be getting any ideas? I mean, I wish.
So I was then picked up at the apartment with lots of security, and then we would go to the magazines also. I mean, it is important. I really, I have the best memories and of in person, and I have always been thankful. I just can only say wonderful things about her. She motivated me and was a great inspiration. So anyway, then I would have to create the garment. Then I would meet with a model, and they were all top models, obviously.
What's the most famous model you worked with, Mom?
Teeks and
wow. I was expecting it to be a name I didn't actually recognize.
But I mean, some of the names, I hate to say it, because at that time, I did know all the top models because we only did photo shoots, in New York, but we also did them as advertising things too in Los Angeles, and I would have to go there because a lot of it, you have the garment, but you need to do some fitting for the model and so on, So anyway, those were my trips to New York and to Los Angeles, and then we also had a TV show.
Amazing.
It was like a, what would you call it? I don't even know if they have those anymore, but they would be segments of, it's kind of like a cooking show, but we would do 15-minute quick sewing tips. Or, that kind
of. In a bigger program?
In a bigger program, And so Anne would be sewing this, and I had to prep for all of them. And we rented actually a large TV studio in Phoenix, Arizona, and we would shoot those segments. And that involved doing little samples step by step and they were very successful.
Wow,
really,
that's cool.
Very successful. So I probably had the most versatile job, and they had a private jet, and I just, yeah.
I don't think I know any
know.
yarn or fabric companies these days who have New York apartments with chauffeured Rolls Royces and private jets.
Yeah, I know. But
I think it's amazing to see where the industry was, where it is now. And,
yes.
Yeah.
But it was really done through hard work by, in person.
Yeah.
She didn't start out that way.
I mean, venture capital wasn't a thing then.
No.
It's not like she would have had a bunch of outside money.
Her husband, Herb, he really was more the financial person, which is very, very important. Yes. Creative people spend money. They just kind of and don't always think about the finances, and so that made it really, that was excellent. I think a great combination. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
well, by the time I came along, I mean, like I grew up, you had a knitting machine that was set up. You had a sewing room.
Yes. I had a studio basically
Mom
upstairs
had
now.
Big. Well, but even in the first house.
Oh, even
you
the
guys
first
built that extension.
I did. Yes.
Yes. And it had a large sewing table, like a cutting table, like the cutting table of dreams, really.
Yes.
An L-shaped table.
We built it.
Yes.
Dad and
I actually distinctly remember this because I had a babysitter and you and Dad were doing this woodworking class.
Right.
It's like date night or something.
Right.
And then you guys didn't come home when you were supposed to because my dad sawed off two of his fingers in class. And they did get sewn back on at the hospital. But you guys made the furniture for your sewing room.
Yes, yeah. It was, I think it's wonderful to have that space.
Yeah.
And you could leave things, and it's kind of like now. I actually, with Carmen being here, I rearranged my yarn, my stashes. Of course, I don't have quite as much yarn as I would like to have, because sometimes I look there and I go, what do I want to make now? So Carmen thinks I only have enough for 3 full sweaters.
I think probably 3 full sweaters, maybe 4.
Yeah.
It's not that many.
That's not.
And then you have some bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's not like your fabric stash used to be.
No.
Although I will say you have never been someone who over accumulates
because
materials.
I was always doing, I did an awful lot of sewing, and believe me, it has gotten, this knitting has gotten me through really lonely times, through the pandemic, through it. It's just something that I just, it's like my little blanket or something.
Well, I think that is for a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
I think back to your story of you moved here and you didn't know anybody and then you went to a sewing class. Like that is how, I got back into knitting when I was living in Ireland and I didn't know anybody and I was bored, and then I found community in the yarn shop in Ireland.
Yeah.
And we have customers that regularly come to the shop and find community and space and, a place to be in the shop. And that's very, very important to me for the business. And I think that's really important for the industry. And
I agree.
We creating phenomenal connections to each other, to our communities, through these spaces. And that's why I also think that local shops are so important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just online is great, and we love that people purchase from us online.
Right.
But I would never want to be running just an online shop.
Yeah.
Personally.
It really is nice. We have in this area, I have one shop, Sisters, it's a small town, known, worldwide known actually through their quilt show. But they also have a nice knitting section, yarn section, and we visited that yesterday.
Yep. They're called the Stitching Post, by the way. If you're in Sisters, do visit.
Yeah. And I was there one Wednesday because they do meet.
Okay.
You can just come on Wednesday afternoon and sit at this beautiful table. And one Wednesday when I was there, because I kind of wanted to check it out, there were some beautiful knitters there. I mean, really knitted in Tosher and, things that I have not even tried yet.
Amazing.
But it was really good. And then we have another store in Bend that we will visit also.
Yeah, I've been there before, but we haven't been there on this trip.
Yeah. So it is, and like I say, I have encouraged some of my friends. One of them was easy because she had knitted before. Others I have actually taught. And then everybody starts out with a scarf or, something
it's very common.
Simple, yes. And I feel like it is not so difficult to do a sweater, a simple sweater. And it is something that, wow, I can knit a sweater that I can wear. It is more of an accomplishment, let's say, than a scarf.
Well, if anyone's wondering where my philosophy on this comes from, it's right there. Because I regularly say that I think it's more important to pick a project that you love and you will continue and you will persevere and learn the techniques you need.
Yes.
I'm not about a first step scarf, second step this, third step that. Oh, it's going to take you a year before you knit a sweater.
No.
If you want to do a lace sweater, be my guest.
Yes. Yes.
It needs to be a project you're really interested in.
Yes. I think the main thing is when you know how to knit and purl.
It's all knits and
it's
purls.
all right. And so I think people are very surprised. You mean if I know how to knit and purl, I can do so. And I have seen this in my small group. They have created just a nice raglan sleeve sweater with origin.
Thanks for the plug there, Mom.
Yeah, but no, it just it is very easy yarn and it's the right weight.
Yeah.
It goes a little faster,
No,
so
worsted weight yarn like Origin is a great place to start for a sweater, for sure.
I like to have, and since I listen to your podcast, obviously, all the time, I have learned also from that because I need at least two projects going. One where I maybe need to read the pattern more carefully or follow a chart, or, and the other one when we get together and we just want to knit and chat.
You need the mindless project.
Yes, yeah, so I do like that. Or a lot of times I knit just a little bit right before I go to bed, but maybe I'm tired and I just want to knit something simple.
Yeah.
So, but knitting is a huge part of my life. It is so big. So, I love talking about it. So this is so nice, Carmen. I feel so honored. I don't know if anybody wants to watch this.
Oh, they definitely do. They definitely do. I think let's show off some of your projects.
Yes. Okay.
Because I think there will be a common theme here shortly. Yes, you'll see. So which one do you want to? We've got a stack of sweaters here that Mom has made.
All right. Okay. Well, this is actually, yes, because this is one that
you've just completed.
Kind of. And I have, to my surprise, worn this quite a lot. It's the fluff, fluff.
Yes, this is our Walcott yarns in collaboration with Les Garçons, fluff yarn, a single strand in the color Cold Rain, so the cooler gray.
Yeah.
What pattern did you use here, Mom?
It's one of my raglan.
Just a second here. I'm going to interlude.
Yes.
Regularly, my mom will see a pattern in the newsletter or something on Instagram, and she'll say, "Ooh, that pattern you just showed. I really want to make that. And can you help me get the pattern?" So I'll get her the pattern and I'll send it to her. And then I'll say, "How are you getting on with that?" And then 2 weeks later, she's like, "Oh, I couldn't follow it. I've made up my own design." So
who knows? Yeah.
She regularly just makes up a sweater pattern, which I don't have the skill to do. But this is the thing, because you can think in 3D.
Yes.
You've also honed the skill of taking flat pieces of fabric and making them into 3D shapes. I do not have this skill. Okay. So Mom original here.
Okay.
Lovely raglan. I've done a little bit of a bell sleeve.
A little bit wider.
Bell sleeve,
a little bit wider. But I have to say though, Carmen, I really like this single. I mean, just fluff. I can't believe I would wear that on a day like today.
I think fluff it's really hot outside.
I mean, fluff is the kind of yarn that could feel kind of cool too. Yeah. It's very lightweight. I really enjoy it.
Let's see your next
one.
But
anyway.
She mostly followed a pattern here.
No, you mostly.
Mostly. You're a little bit like Amanda. This is the Fierce by Kate Oates. This was Kate Oates' Rhinebeck sweater last year. And you did it in Walcott Yarn's Origin Juniper with Spin Cycle, Dream State, and Close Call. But here's the modification. There is a turtleneck on it.
Rather than, the round neck.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love turtlenecks.
Yeah.
And I like to feel cozy, and that's easy to do. I mean, this pattern lends itself beautifully to that. I mean,
This is also funny. This is your first color work.
Yes.
She'd never done stranded color work before. It's really beautiful stranded color work. We'll just zoom in on that a little bit.
Yeah. I liked it enough that knitting this that I want to do another one. And I talked to Carmen a little bit about that because I kind of see maybe a white with, darker. So we have picked some things. Yeah. But it was more of a challenge, yet it was very fun. I really liked it.
But what's funny is a lot of people didn't understand the shoulder construction of this because it's a very tailored shoulder. Mom was like, that was the super easy part.
That was easy, yeah. So, yeah. But one thing that I forgot also, Carmen, how I used to have a real problem reading a pattern.
Yes.
And I think I was knitting already more, but I was definitely doing flat pieces, sewing them together.
That's true.
Doing my own measuring, let's say, a garment I had. And because of my sewing background and that, we talked
it was
about
really comfortable for you.
Yes, I could do it.
And you're good at it.
So I created some sweaters. One sweater that I actually wanted to show. It's one of my favorite ones for when it gets very, very cold here. It's from the Fiber Company. The it's Tundra.
Well, I do have the first version sitting over here.
Okay, you might want to talk about that.
This for a second. I was going to bring this up at the end, but my mom made this sweater in Tundra, a colorway that isn't made anymore. and it was absolutely stunning. And it was just a garter stitch turtleneck that she made. And then she blocked it, and it stretched quite a bit because it's got a lot of alpaca, and she didn't really block it correctly. And so to try to solve that problem, she put it in the washing machine. And this is now, I don't know if you'll see this on camera, but this is like the densest fabric on the planet. I mean, I think all we can do is like make a bag out.
Yeah.
Don't put your sweaters in the washing machine, people.
I just wanted to shrink it, but
I did tell you how to like shape it back. Blocking is miraculous.
did.
So anyways.
Blocking is, but you know, but it is a really cute sweater. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it would fit a child, but it's like a straitjacket.
Yes.
So don't do that.
No.
All right, let's get back to more successful projects. You did wear that for quite a while before you.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this one here I'm quite proud of because I hadn't done a cardigan, and I was quite concerned about doing a band.
Okay.
You know, because I see sometimes when people knit things, the band pulls it a little bit.
Yeah.
You make it too tight or too whatever.
That is very even button
And
band,
this is the cadre again.
This is again a cadre pattern.
That's the match cardigan. It's called match cardigan. And I'm doing another one because I love it so much. But she has a method there for the band that just worked out perfectly. I did not have to redo it.
Nice.
So it's very nice, and I can't wait to wear it.
And this is Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. Held with something, though, you said.
Yes.
From your stash.
From my stash. It was actually from Shibui. We got it.
Oh, yeah. I think,
you know.
I think the yarn, because you showed me the lighter gray that you have of this, was Lunar, which was a merino silk, like lace weight of Shibui's once upon a time. It's turned out really beautifully. You haven't blocked this one yet.
I have not blocked it yet.
We're going to do that together.
And I really have to do...
And I want to make one for myself.
Yeah.
In different yarn.
Yeah. I need to buy buttons still. But I really like the construction. I mean, it's just the easiest thing. So I will, when you get to that segment, what I have on my needles.
Yeah. Do you have one more sweater you want to show us?
Another one, yeah. And this is, I'm really honestly very proud of it.
You really like to combine
just
yarns.
Like to combine.
This has been something you really enjoy.
Yes. And so I had it from my stash, the very first show that Carmen did in London. I came to that. And she wanted me to walk around a little bit, and also
because I was selling yarn.
Buy some yarn from others.
So
so I got the Cheeky Merino Joy from Rosie Green.
I think you got that from my friend Anna at Wild and Woolly, because I think she was there.
Okay. So anyway, and it made just a lovely.
But I think you held this with Shibui at the time. The Shibui silk cloud with it.
Yeah.
So we'll just show off your little stack of sweaters here.
Yeah.
Look at those.
And I have more.
Of course you do. It gets nice and cold here, so.
Yeah, it does. I'm a sweater person, and it's a perfect up there, and there's a hummingbird there. And it is really the perfect climate for me to wear sweaters. But what I have on my needles is I had some yarn left over, and so this is the solo scarf to go with that sweater.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
Matchy.
Matchy. And it's an easy knit, but it is really... I just love it. I think it would be lovely with that sweater.
Is it just a couple rows of knitting and then a couple rows of purling?
Kind
sort
of,
like
but
a
you have
big
to
wide
watch
garter
the edges,
ridge,
you know. Yeah. But that's all.
All right, Mom, what do you have on your needles?
On my needles. Well, because I really like the match cardigan so much. So
Making another one.
I am making another one. And this time it's in the
Glamorous
Yeah.
Snuff Nug.
Oh,
with
just gorgeous.
a silk merino.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So a very different texture, a very different fabric.
Yes.
Same cardigan though. Yeah.
So I did do a gauge. I did follow your advice, and I do listen. And so, but I'm just really pleased. It's so soft, and it will look a little bit more elegant. You know,
it'll be a totally different look.
Christmas, very different look. Yeah.
I mean, that's the amazing thing about a quote unquote simple pattern is that you can make it over and over again in different fabrics and different colors. You can embellish. It's really nice to just be able to play with a canvas, really.
Yes. Yeah. And that is one thing too, Carmen, that I learned from my stretch and sew background.
So I probably learned that from her.
Yeah, because, you know, we had the basic patterns and then you created things. And I love that because then I can create it. I don't have to follow the pattern exactly. I can do something. And like you said, the different yarns. I mean, this is going to look very different than my other, the gray sweater that I did. So, but this is what I have currently on my needles. The scarf, which is simple, and then that sweater. Right. And then, so Carmen, your sweater that you just finished, you know that I want to create.
Yes. That. So I'm going to show off something I finished, and I will try it on. I just finished blocking it. I finished knitting it a couple weeks ago for flock, but this is my Bella blocking in gorgeous. A single strand of fluff. I've used Cinema at the top and English Rose at the bottom, and I've just blocked it. And as usual, blocking is magic.
Yes.
I'll just try this on for you. Yeah. But it's so cute.
It is so cute.
It's super cute. Yeah. You can kind of, I did make it quite cropped, and I did the like 3/4 sleeve, but it fits.
Oh, it fits
really well.
Yeah.
And it's very
really
comfy, very lightweight. It
doesn't
feel like I have anything on.
I know.
So this is different to Susan's version, which is tweed plus, or Isager tweed plus fluff. Which is what you plan on doing.
I plan on doing, So you brought me the tweed. Yeah, I had the fluff. Anyway, so one of my problems, Carmen, and I don't know if you can help me with that, and maybe people have the same problem. I have all these projects, these things in my head that I want to do, but then sometimes I don't know which one to start with. So I just
I'm definitely the wrong person to ask about that. That's why I have like 34 whips. So, I mean, I think the thing is, and because I think we all know, I have not been finishing a lot of projects recently or in the last couple of years. With this one, I just stuck to it quite monogamously. And I just knit, even if it was a half a row or 2 rows, and I just kept going. So I think that's really key. So whether you have 2 projects or 20, as long as you are working on them regularly, you know, and consistently, a couple rows at a time, you will get there, even if you don't. And I think this is where I haven't been getting much stuff done lately, is I prefer when I get a chunk of time to like sit down and knit for 3 or 4 hours. That's like my preferred thing to do. But I haven't been getting a lot of that lately. So then I just wasn't knitting at all, and therefore not getting anything done. So this, I had a deadline. So I just kept working on it little by little, and it got done. So you just have to keep working on it and just start somewhere. And it's okay. I think that's the thing. It's okay if you get excited by another project and it jumps in there. And jumps the queue, as you would say.
Because
it's
fine. Happen.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah, but I do love all the yarn, and I will, eventually get to those. And I have some patterns that I've downloaded, and I haven't knitted yet. But
we all have those.
Yeah, I do like all of them. So anyway, this really has been great fun, Carmen.
Good. I mean, I feel like we need to have you on again, because what we didn't talk about, and I was going to bring up.
Okay. Oh well.
I said this little tag.
Yeah.
Because, post Stretch and Sew, there was also a company that my mom started with her best friend Molly called Mogi. And you showed me this tag the other day.
Yeah.
Which I love. And what did you guys make, Mom?
We made vests, reversible vests.
Children's vests.
Children's vests. Yeah. Because, and I told Carmen, she thought it was quite funny, but children like vests because their arms are free.
Mm-hmm. Their bodies are warm.
Yes, the bodies are warm. Yeah. And these vests were made of chintz, actually. Beautiful chintz in various colors and
kind of patchworky a
little bit. Yeah. Totally reversible. I mean, we brought all the fabric, everything, when we turned it, through the shoulder seam. So it looked like there was no seam anywhere. It was totally, and they were lined, so with the calico print. Mm-hmm. It was quite,
I mean, let's see if people like you on the podcast, and maybe we'll have you back talking about your entrepreneurial journeys.
Next March, I am going to come to the knitting retreat.
Mom's coming to the Bath Luxury Knitting Retreat. You've been to the Country House Retreat before.
Yes.
So you're coming over for our retreat in Bath at the Royal Crescent Hotel with Erica Knight.
Yes.
Who I was telling you about yesterday.
Excited. Yes.
I think you and Erica will hit it off.
Really?
And obviously Amanda's teaching. Yeah. And all the info for that is on our Events Unwound website. If you want to come hang out with me and my mom as well.
Yeah, really. No, I will be there. I'm so excited because Carmen told me a little bit more in detail.
She might have gotten some insider info that we haven't released to the public yet.
But anyway, it's just fun being around knitters, people who really like it. And so I love your podcast, but I also love what you do on Instagram. And I see others in there showing off, their garments. I think that's a good addition. I haven't done that, but anyway, it really is very fun. And this was really fun.
Oh, good. Well, I'm very glad you could join us. And thank you for joining us for the bonus episode here. We will be back to some sort of we've got changes coming for season 4, but a more regularly scheduled program in September at some point. And don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to comment, and to share our podcast and YouTube with your friends who might also enjoy chatting a lot about knitting and crafting. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.